Last 30 seconds is taking forever. So we're within 30 seconds of 9 o'clock, so I'm going to declare our second quarterly meeting of the WKU Board of Regents in order. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Regent Bell, Regent Robbie,
Present.
Regent Dennison,
Present.
Regent Hammonds, present. Regent Hill,
Here.
Chair Milliken,
Here.
Regent Nichols,
Present.
Regent Spiller,
Here.
Secretary Thomas, Vice Chair West, present. Regent Kurtz.
Here.
We got 10 regents present.
Very good. Thank you, Regent Thomas. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections as far as the minutes are concerned? I know they have been circulated. Everyone has had an opportunity to view those. If there are no objections, questions, additions, then they'll stand approved as read. Regent Kurtz, if you would join me up front for just a moment, I would appreciate it. This is kind of a bittersweet occasion. It's sweet because I know today's your birthday. So congratulations on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's kind of bitter because we're going to miss you serving with us on the Board of Regents. It has been a pleasure to get to know you, to serve with you, and we have enjoyed your company. And we just want to wish you the very best of everything in your future. We know it's bright and we know it will be good. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
A small token from
Thank you.
the board in appreciation of your service.
Thank you, Chairman Milliken. It's been a honor lifetime. So thank you, God.
Yes, certainly.
I just wanted to talk about his talk he gave at graduation. I think it was for you to talk about your pain. It's hard for adults, you're an adult. To talk, to get up in front of people and talk about that. And it was clear that all of your constituents had a great deal. And I just wanted to let you know, I really appreciate your talk.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make for our outgoing regent? You're welcome to come back and visit anytime. We'd be happy to have you in our gallery.
Chair Milliken, I would just say, as a graduate of the Gordon Ford College of Business Department of Management, and a 2-year SGA president, 2-year regent, I know he has endured a lot of slings and arrows and fought hard for students. And I would say, as someone who had the honor of him taking my class, he's also an excellent student. Said great things from come back and really be a big donor to the university as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Milliken, could I?
Yes, certainly.
The great privilege of being president is you get to work with students. And Sam and I have had 2 wonderful years together. And in addition to his positive attitude and affableness, what was most inspiring to me was the way he kept his students focused on and his SGA focused on improving the lives every day for students in this institution. So Sam, you should leave proud of your accomplishments and what you've done. And I agree, you should come back as a large donor one day.
I'm fun. Thank you.
Chair Milliken, I would like to just say something. Sam, it has truly been a pleasure to sit by you, and you always welcome me with a hug. I truly appreciate that, and I wish you just great success in the future, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be academic affairs, Regent Elm. I turn that matter over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll turn over to Provost Fisher. We're doing action item 1 through 5 as a consent, and I'll let you go through those.
Yeah, the 4 action items are approval of academic program suspension, minor and computer information systems, approval of academic program suspension, the AA and organizational supervision, approval of professional and technical writing, graduate certificate, and the approval of substance use disorder undergraduate certificate.
Action item 1 through 4 is any discussion. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion. Second. Second. All in favor?
If you would allow me some time, we have 13 what would be emeritus professors, a really great group of people who have made huge contributions to WKU here. And we have a set of them here today. And I would love to go through them if you give me a few minutes to do that. The first is Dr. Mark Ross. He joined WKU in 1994 and served with distinction as Associate Professor of Accounting. He's known for his ability to teach rigorous courses while motivating students to excel. He was department chair from 2019 to 2024. He also led during the pandemic, and he had a great vision on how to keep that accounting area continuing to go. And his lasting impacts reflect his dedication to student success, faculty development, and institutional excellence. And I do not believe is here today. The second is Dr. Paula Burt, who is here today. She's standing.
Behind.
Oh, behind me. I didn't see her. Looking now. She made a lasting impact on WKU in her 23.5 years of service in teaching, leadership, and mentorship. She taught courses in organizational behavior and management at both the undergraduate and MBA level. She served as chair of the management department and as an interim MBA director. She's a campus leader. She co-chaired the university strategic plan steering committee, helping to shape the institution's long-term priorities. For that, we thank you. And would you like to say a few words?
Good morning. I would like to thank the Board of Regents for considering my nomination. A very special thank you to Dr. Whitney Peak, the department chair, and my colleagues and the dean of the College of Business, Dr. Evelyn Thrasher, for initiating this process. I'm just so blessed to not only be an alum of WKU, but to have had such a wonderful and blessed career. I look forward to seeing all the future accomplishments of WKU, and especially the opening of this beautiful new College of Business building. So again, many
thank you. The third is Dr. Michael Stokes. Dr. Stokes served the Department of Biology at WKU from 1995 until his retirement in 2024. A distinguished educator and researcher, he impacted thousands of students through courses in ecology, wildlife biology, and human anatomy, and mentored numerous graduate and undergraduates in research. He developed the renowned field course in African wildlife management, and co-directed the Green River Preserve, advancing biodiversity conservation and applied learning. And he is not here today. And the next person is Dr. Philip Lanesh. And Dr. Lanesh served WKU for 23 years with distinction from 2001 to 2024. A dedicated educator and researcher, he taught fundamental courses in zoology, ichthyology, and fisheries management. Ichthyology is fish, by the way, containing some of those words nobody ever knows, combining rigorous theory with applied learning. He also mentored numerous undergraduate and graduate students in their research. The next is Dr. Thomas Richmond, who served the WKU Mathematics Department with distinction since 1986 and until his recent retirement. He's highly respected educator and scholar who earned multiple honors, including the MAA Meritorious Service Award, the WKU University Distinguished Professor Award, and awards for excellence in teaching and advice. Dr. Douglas Harper served WKU with distinction for 33.5 years. earning a reputation as an outstanding teacher, advisor, and innovator in experiential learning. His contributions to physics education include the development of unique lab experiences, simulations, and opportunities leading to professional certificates. Dr. Angela Jones. Dr. Jones led the professional writing concentration from 2005 to 2024. She built the undergraduate internship program, connecting students with real-world experiences and helping them articulate their skills to employers. Known for high standards and strong student support, she challenged students to excel. Her outreach strengthened ties with alumni and local businesses.
Hey, Bud, I
Yeah.
have some words from Angie on her proxy.
Go for it.
President Caboni, Regents, colleagues, and guests, thank you for this opportunity to reflect on my career at WKU. And thank you to my colleague Gail for sharing these comments with me while I'm on my way to a graduation ceremony in Pennsylvania. I am deeply grateful for the opportunities that WKU has given me over nearly 2 decades to connect. Of course, I had my most frequent and ongoing connection with students, advisees, and colleagues in the English department. But I was also fortunate to connect with students and colleagues from across campus in my work in the Potter College Dean's Office and my contributions to the Marion Honors College. In addition, I appreciated the connections formed from my service on university-wide committees and in faculty senate. Importantly, WKU gave me a platform to connect beyond campus to our wider Bowling Green community. I enjoyed building community partnerships with English department's internship program, and especially the long service to the Bowling Green International Festival and Humane Society. Although my time at WKU has concluded, happily the connections it generated endure. In fact, just a few days ago, I crossed paths with a group of professional writing alumni who work together at a firm downtown. Thank you for providing me with a career filled with connections that have enriched my life enormous.
Thank you. The next person is Dr. David Lenore. Since joining WK's English department in 1993, Dr. Lenore has served with distinction as a dedicated instructor, advisor, and mentor until his retirement in December of 2024. He consistently challenged learners while offering steady encouragement, and generations of students credit him with shaping their teaching careers. A model colleague, Dr. Lenore is known for his quiet reliability and unwavering commitment to the department.
For your safety and my comfort, I have scripted mine. My greetings to the Board of Regents and guests. I was pleased and surprised to have been invited to speak on the occasion of the emeritus vote. I had never heard of this particular ritual, but it suggests itself as a noteworthy bookend for faculty careers, and I appreciate the opportunity. I might also note that I never before received any invitation to appear at that board meeting. I say that with a bit of pride and relief. Cause a problem of sufficient magnitude to garner such an invitation. Nevertheless, I thank you for the opportunity today. Western Kentucky University has been my academic and professional home since 1993. My longevity as a faculty member, direct result of the support of my wife and family, and the department in which I served. The Department of English is a tremendously varied group of faculty with a range of specialties and interests, unparalleled, I suspect, among other curricular departments on campus. So much variance in personality could produce challenges. As one former colleague pointedly suggested, we wouldn't unanimously vote ourselves a day off. But while all the individual department members have their own niches academically, the group has always shared a singular dedication to their fellow faculty and to their students. In short, they are a community which invites, supports, and sustains. The department is a special group, and I am pleased to have been a part of it. Thank the Board of Regents and the university more broadly for having offered me the opportunity.
The next is Dr. Dale Rigby. Dr. Rigby is a dedicated and challenging instructor known for pushing students to strengthen their writing and develop their individual voices. In his creative writing courses, he is praised for offering a wide range of genres and fostering inclusive, collaborative workshop environments. He has also played a key role in mentoring graduate assistants, meeting with them regularly to refine their pedagogy and support the development of their teaching styles. Dale?
Well, I just introduced my colleague Angie, who's in professional writing. And for 25 years, I've been kind of a evangelical devotee of unprofessional. I think I'm just going to read a couple passages from one of my moles. I was got a past student who's applying for a writing tutor's job. I like to see a seat at the university with some of my pedagogy. And gosh, was I heartened to hear of the transition you desired into a more pedagogical role in support of your classroom teachers, and especially, I suspect, for the increasingly post-pandemic academically at-risk, underprepared writing students. Makes perfect organic sense to me. I may have been retired for an entire semester, but I can still muster some of my old umbrage for WKU colleagues who didn't know the cost of a tuition hour at their own institution. One of the axioms I absorbed during my own pedagogical training in Iowa was that the least prepared writing students invariably receive the least prepared teachers, since so few of us, then but less so now, received adequate training in basic writing. But in this candidate's case, such a population would be graced with a trained and talented teacher who, instead of chastising, would likely ask her students, hey, what got in the way of you doing better on this piece of writing? That is intuition, of course, but it is an intuition born of my own almost 40 years in the first year of writing classroom.
The next is Dr. Ken Payne. Dr. Payne served with distinction for over a decade, having a significant mark on the public relations program. Ken built a career that bridged government, private industry, and academia, pioneering digital communication strategies during his time at AOL Time Warner. At WKU, he taught courses on online newsrooms, digital PR, and social media, and played a key role in student advising and career preparation. Dr. Payne?
This is just amazing to end up here. This is incredible. Thanks to everybody, especially important knowing that you're here because your peers voted for you here. And I can tell you that just means more than anything to me. This is my wife, Lori. Our career started here in 1978. I graduated at Fort Knox High School, had no idea what I was going to do in life. Heard that the girl to guy ratio in like me need those odds. Good place to start. They tried out for the football team, they made it. They caught my 40 with a sundial. Coach Bites at the time called me in and said, you know, you might want to try out for cheerleading. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I became a cheerleader and met my wife, Lori, and we'll be married 42 years next week. So it made quite a career. Moving around the country, ended up back here. I think all roads lead back to WKU, and we ended up back here in 2003, and have just had a ball. We've actually given you more students. Both of our daughters are WKU graduates. Our oldest daughter is in the doctoral program right now, finishing her doctorate. So we truly have a strong attachment to WKU, and again, thanks for this honor. It means everything. Thanks very much.
Next is Dr. Ann. Dr. Ann, could you stand and tell us your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
Phonetically, Anye Coolajay.
Okay.
We can all say it.
Anye Coolajay. Dr. Ann served WKU with distinction from 1996 to 2024, making lasting contributions to the Department of Sociology and Students. A leader in the social stratification and inequality curriculum, she developed 2 original courses and taught across all modalities. She was a dedicated advisor and mentor to both undergraduate and graduate students, and Dr. Ann's career was marked by a deep commitment to equity and justice.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And thank you to the Board of Regents for this invitation. I'm deeply, deeply honored. And I do have my notes here. It has been a privilege to make contributions to this institution over the many, many years. I'm grateful for the support of my colleagues and for students. I look forward to sharing my experiences and to continuing to support our community as we work together for excellency. Thank you.
Thank you. And last is Dr. Douglas Smith. Dr. Smith served WKU with distinction from 1996 until his retirement in December of 2024. A key figure in the sociology curriculum, he taught a broad range of courses, including sociological theory, global social problems and negotiation, and conflict resolution. He also served as department head for 8 years and as interim head for 1. A dedicated advisor and mentor, Dr. Smith supported both undergraduate and graduate students throughout his tenure. And if we talk about scholarly contributions, he's the co-author of 2 books. First being Don't Burn in Here, written in 1997, and The Basics and Applications of Sociology, done in 2003. And with that, that is all 13. Oh, he's here. Sorry, I even talked to him today. I'm not doing it. Wow, please, my fault.
It's okay. In brevity, thank you all. I'm deeply honored, humbled to receive this honor, this title. This moment marks not just a milestone in my career, but a meaningful reflection on the years of teaching, research, and collaboration I've had with my colleagues here at Western. And I've had a privilege to share so much of this with you all at so many levels, both because of my own career, but also because of my wife's and our daughters. So it means a lot. I'll just thank you for it's more than I can say.
I guess what I would say is you see a great group of faculty that have made a huge contribution to this institution, and I know will continue to make contributions to this institution in many different ways. And they're just a small group of how many great faculty we have on this campus.
Thank you, Provost Fisher. Are there any other comments or questions about the candidates? About it.
All right, my rough calculation is around 350 years of service that we recognize. Each one of them make contributions in their own way, but it's certainly quite a monumentous amount of work that's represented here.
And there are threads that echo through all of the comments today, and I think they represent the best of Western Kentucky University, including a deep commitment to students, community, scholarship, focus on creating knowledge, and remaining connected once one leaves. So for my colleagues who are not working every day, at least not on campus, but will continue to be connected, thank you for devoting your lives, not just to this university, but to our students and to your academic discipline. There is no better calling than the academic life, and you fulfilled it well. So thank you for that. We'll miss you.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Spiller, second. Dennis, all in favor? Go on to action item 6, that's approval of ranking tenured hire.
Yeah, as you know, we've been looking for an honors director on campus after the untimely death of Craig. We have identified somebody, and she has a distinguished career. Her name is Dr. Lindy Davidson, and we would like to put her forward for tenure.
Questions? Approve.
So moved.
Regent Brody, a second.
Second.
Regent Nichols, all in favor?
Aye.
That concludes the business.
I have one more.
Oh,
It's not on there. I want to do an information item. I sat here last time and told you a list of all the awards that we won during the spring, including the Gilman, Goldwater, DDA Rise. But we had one that we couldn't tell you when we were there because we were told by the group that gives out the award that you couldn't tell until after the date of the last BOR meeting. And that goes to Micah Carden, who is in Ogden. It turns out she won a Udall undergraduate scholarship. It's the first one on this campus since 2010. And she gets it because of her environmental studies types of work. And her research is how caves are formed. And what it gives her is $7,000 a year for the next 2 years towards her education. So that's a huge award. So that goes with everything else we won during the spring. So I think we had a pretty good spring when we look at our students and how well they're doing. And that's a compliment to the faculty who are mentoring them and moving them forward. Now, thank you.
Just on behalf of the board, let me add our congratulations and my thanks for this outstanding group of faculty members. Western is so proud of our academic community. It thrives immensely. And we appreciate your efforts, and we know that those efforts are what brings about the things that we're all looking for here today. So thank you and congratulations to each of them. Next item on the agenda is finance and budget. Regent Brody.
Thank you, Chair Milliken. Finance and budget items 1 through 5 were approved in committee and will be considered as a consent agenda item. Susan, do you have anything more to add to any of those items, or Bruce?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent items 1 through 5. Motion by Regent Dennison,
Okay.
second by Regent West. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 6, you can take it away.
So if you all can pull up that slide deck for me. So if it's okay with you, Chair Brody, I'd like to keep this as informal as we can. It's not a lengthy presentation, but there's a lot of numbers to it. So please feel free to stop with any questions. This is an important item you'll be approving. So the items that I want to go through is basically just a brief introduction to the budget, going over some items that were included in the president's letter that starts the budget. Then I think it's important for the board to understand fully all the items that go into approving a budget. There's a lot of items embedded in that budget. Then covering some revenue highlights, expenditure highlights, and then next steps. So there were four themes within the president's message. First is student success highlights. As I like to say, that we couldn't have a successful budget if our students weren't successful. And then going through the budget governance on campus. The thing I'm most proud of our campus is that this is the first structurally balanced budget our campus will have in over 20 years. So, and that's thanks to everybody in the room. And then a lot of capital investments going on around campus. So these are just two items, and the president can speak to them, or provost can speak to them. These are two really proud moments for the campus, is our growth in our 6-year graduation rate and our first-year retention rate. So in 2018, when President Carbone came to campus and developed the strategic plan, the goal was set to reach 60% for our 6-year graduation rate by 2028. You'll see that we have, as of 2024, we're at 57.9, which is the highest 6-year graduation rate for our campus. And then the 1-year retention rate is just phenomenal. So it currently stands at 78.3, which is almost unheard of for an institution like us. So I think we're now hovering around 80, correct?
81, 82.
So I think that's just phenomenal for our campus. So anything else that you'd like to add on me too?
No, I think I would just say thank you to everybody who's played a huge role, and that's everybody on campus related to both graduation and retention. Success is measured there and after that in the career.
So, oh, sorry. It's playing games with me. Okay, so to help guide us through our budget development, we have a budget executive committee on campus. And I wanted to show the board what the budget executive committee is comprised of, because I don't think anyone can say it's not a fully campus-wide committee. So we have 3 staff representatives, 3 faculty representatives, 1 department chair, 1 student representative, 2 vice presidents, and all of the college deans. So this is what the activities, what the budget executive committee is responsible for. So they meet, they start meeting September when everybody gets back to campus, and they meet religiously, bi-weekly, throughout the entire fall and spring semester. And the meeting time this year was Tuesday at 3:30, which is sometimes a hard time to pull everyone together, but they did a really good job. They are responsible for reviewing all of the budget requests that come in throughout the campus and making recommendations up through executive leadership on funding priorities. They are also, one of their big responsibilities is making a recommendation up to leadership on a salary recommendation. So I also wanted to show the actual members themselves. So the chairs this year were Dean Corinne Murphy and Bryson Davis, who's the Director of Student Financial Assistance, and they did a phenomenal job. So thank you, Dean Murphy, for the work. And then you will see the full membership there, and then those are the voting members, and then the non-voting members are listed as well. And this is what our actual, in kind of a flow chart way, shows the structure of our budget governance. So you'll see that the BEC sits in the middle and receives input from the staff senate, the faculty senate, SGA, and academic and support leadership. All that feedback goes into the BEC, and then they make recommendations up to executive leadership. So I think this is a really important part of this budget. So I want to take some time to go through it. So if you'll remember right, I think I sat here last year at this time and talked through the board about a 2-year budget realignment plan. And so you approved that last year. This is the 2nd year of that, but I wanted to remind everyone what year 1 looked like. So if you remember right, we had a $24 million basically structural imbalance in the budget. And that was actually an improvement from when Dr. Caboni came to campus. When he came to campus, it was probably closer to 40. So it took us a while to basically deal with it, as I told the board when we came to campus. When I came to campus and I realized we had a problem, it was probably about 6 months after that that we went into the pandemic. And at that point, really all work basically was just around keeping the campus open, making sure our students and our faculty and staff were safe. So this got put on pause. And then we started working on the grant model once we got out of the pandemic. And then that took most of our efforts. So last year seemed like the perfect time to start working towards resolving this problem. So the items that we tackled in year 1, as a reminder, one was a 7.5% permanent unit level budget realignment, and that totaled $13.5 million. Now, I know there's been some questions around that, so I want to answer that, and you can ask me any question you'd like, but this was a permanent budget reduction that was done last August, and all the units made the reduction, and it's permanent. It's not like there's another 7.5. It's a permanent budget reduction that's already been resolved, and so no more. We also we did the voluntary separation incentive program, or VSIP for short. That generated $3.7 million. And to remind everyone, there were 57 employees that accepted. The staff departed campus in basically after Thanksgiving last year, and the faculty left at the end of December. And then their payout happened in January. So the savings of $3.7 million, while we implemented the plan in 25, the savings will accrue in 26. And the final was a permanent reduction to the transportation budget of $300,000. So these were all the items that happened in year one of the 2-year alignment plan. Any questions on that? Okay. So year two, so this is year two in the budget that you're approving today. So first will be a 4 million vacant position credit. And let me explain that. So this is a practice that happens across many governmental entities, including higher education. It's a strategy that's successful without going about reducing permanently unit budgets. So what we will do at any point in time, the university has somewhere between $8 and $12 million in vacancies across the entire university. So what we will do is every month, the budget office, Ronaldo and Brian will work with the unit budget managers to make sure that those positions are actually vacant and there's no reasons why we can't make the necessary transfer. And we will transfer 50% of 1/12 of the last salary at that point. So the units will be keeping 50% and 50% will go into the central, for the lack of a better term, bucket. So once that bucket is filled at 4 million, we will stop the process until the next year. And as a reminder, the positions stay in the units budget. It's not that we pull the budget, pull the position centrally.
So yeah, just to clarify on that, because questions that people have asked me, you're not, central is not gathering these positions back together. It's just taking 50% of the money. Meanwhile, the colleges or other areas have 50% of the money to go hire temporary people, adjuncts, whatever.
Yeah, and there's always going to be an exception. So that's why we make sure that the budget office will be working closely. We actually had a meeting with the budget managers on Wednesday. Dr. Murphy attended, which I thought was helpful to have a dean's perspective there. And they give a lot of good feedback. And so it's not just that we're just going to go pull things without checking.
But we are starting this process of figuring this out to go to do this each year until you get to 4 million. That's
yes.
what I heard just for a second.
The second strategy is we did receive good news from the pension office at the state that our fixed pension obligation for the next 2 years will go down by 1.5. It's good in the sense that we can use 1 million of that towards our second year realignment strategy. People have asked me, is there some risk that the obligation will go back up? I guess there is some risk. I don't think a lot because we are hiring fewer KERS employees. So I don't expect the obligation to go back up. If it did, we will just revisit it in a couple of years. And the physical plant critical needs, Brian Russell and his staff, they have a reserve right now of about 1.5 million that they use to do critical needs maintenance across campus. Leadership's thinking was that we could reduce that back by about half, since the asset preservation money that we're receiving from the state can be used to backfill that. So Brian and I have had a discussion and think we are good to go on that. And the last strategy for this year is the, if you remember right, I presented a strategy last year that was met with some resistance. I think that's fair across campus, that we were going to charge all revenue generating units a 10% overhead charge. So we paused, we took the pushback and listened to it and paused the strategy. And this year what we're doing is we are applying a 13% overhead charge only to non-college revenue generating units. So again, we met with the budget managers. We're talking with them about how we're going to do that, and it sounds as if it's going to go over much better than the last strategy from last year. So with that, this being the second year of the strategy, this will put us back into structural balance. Any questions on that? Okay. And then capital investments on campus, I think you all can actually see all of these that are going on. Our College of Business, which is the majority is completed. It'll be open for instruction in the fall semester. Our Hilltopper Fieldhouse is under construction and is scheduled to open in October. And then the Cherry Hall renovation renderings and more renderings will be unveiled in the coming months. So to what I talked about earlier, I think it's important for the board in particular to understand everything that they'll be approving as approving the budget. So first, you're approving tuition rates. And these tuition rates are in accordance with the CPE tuition. CPE in the state of Kentucky has the statutory authority for approving tuition, but they set parameters for each college campus to fall within, and our tuition rates will do that. Good news for our faculty and staff. The BEC formally recommended a 2% compensation pool to be distributed in January of 26 to all eligible faculty and staff on campus. I do want to put one caveat. Now that we are in structural balance, we will reconvene the deans and vice presidents, by myself, in probably the end of September to make sure that we have hit all of our revenue targets. And if that's the case, then the president would typically ask the BEC to reconvene and make a decision or make a recommendation on how that salary will be distributed. College fees. So these, and I will probably ask our provost to talk a little bit about this. He's much more familiar with it than I am, but I believe Bud says that when he came to campus, we had about 700 or so college fees.
I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When I came to campus, one of the first things that somebody asked me about were the course fees. And I walked back to my office and asked Jessica Gillen how many there were, and she told me there were 779 course fees. And I went, you're kidding, right? And you know, where I come from, the average was like 50 or 60, and all of a sudden we had 779. And at that point, they were being asked, there was a committee. There is a fee committee on this campus that's made up of a broad group from across campus. They were in the middle of being asked by the previous provost to see if we could lower the number of course fees. So I allowed them to continue on. I wanted to see what would come back, and they came back with 590 course fees. And at that point, we and the deans decided we should probably talk about a different way to fee students that would do a few sets of things as we move forward. One was to make sure that if we took away the course fees, the people who were getting the course fees would still get that money and be able to teach the classes they're teaching. Two is to have some extra money for two different things. One was that if new courses were put in or old courses needed money to be able to do something different in their classrooms, there would be money available for them to request to get that. And three was to have some extra money to go towards student success in each college. And that's what we came up with, and that's what we've done by moving to these course fees. Now, that was already occurring as what was called the program fee in Gordon Ford, and it had been in for a significant number of times. So we have got rid of all course fees, and I'm going to say, except for I think 3 in CHHS that are gigantic course fees that have to stay. For like nursing, there's no way to get around it. They have to be there still. But in all cases, we have got rid of the 590 some course fees as we see them. We have gone to the college fees and now have an opportunity, I think, to do some stuff that's really important. I'll use Ogden as an example. I think when you look at Ogden, they have a large number of course fees. They will still get their course fees to run their classes. There are some classes that need new fees, and they will get some of those new fees. And then it's equipment heavy, and it's been very difficult to find the dollars to put new equipment in labs where students are being taught, and this will give us an opportunity to do some of that. And so we've gone to this, and it went through the fee committee. We got responses. They told us they were on board at the end, and it followed the path that every fee on this campus has followed. So that's where we are.
So while we have that up and you here, just a couple of questions on this particular page. As the board's aware, faculty sent a few resolutions in their last minute meeting And one of them was on academic quality, and the concerns of the faculty as they expressed in that meeting was that with the amount of, over the implementation of grant, the allocation of resources, a lot of faculty support has gone away. We have removed student workers, we've removed the administrative support for faculty, and looked for efficiencies in a lot of areas. Since this is approximately $3 million going into the colleges and additional fees from what we had before, if you look at the ways laid out in the budget.
Sure.
Just be looking to see, is there ways that we can look, make sure some of this money is to help faculty, help student success. Student success, faculty play a major role in this, and some of them feel like they've been left a little bit out as we put this emphasis on student success. And just to bring up one point on this, you know, we just approved these action items, these consent items in the academic affairs agenda. Mm-hmm. And what we see here, the budgetary implications in all these programs we do, we always say there's no budgetary implication. We will cover this with existing faculty. Keep approving these programs. We keep saying existing faculty will do it, adding to the workload, but yet take it. So just asking from the faculty's perspective.
So I'm going to say two things related to that. One, I'm going to say is if you're putting in new programs and you need people, you need to tell me that. I am not a mind reader at this point, and you know I've told faculty senate multitudes of times to go back to their faculty, and if they really need people to do it. Example would be neurobiology needed people, and we are in the middle of taking care of neurobiology. You need to tell us so that I get a chance to do what I'm supposed to do, which is figure out how to find money to do those kinds of things. And I will continue to do that. I think two is when you look at these fees, the fees and what they can be used for have been defined by the colleges, and they are broad enough to be able to do what you're talking about. But they can't be done in a vacuum. I've talked to all the deans, and we would like to see a committee in each college who sits there, looks at what are the requests, and then votes as a group and moves it forward so that there's checks and balances being taken care of in each college about how this money is spent and how does it really relate to student success.
So the board would be able to get a report from you maybe next August.
Yes, they have to send us a report, what they spent the money on, all of that at the end. That's the other thing it helps us a little bit with. In the old system, we would get 799 reports that we have to go through every year. Now we'll get 5, where we can take a closer look at it and see how it's really being used and to be able to distribute it to show how it's used.
Okay, thank you. So, but to another point.
Sure.
Appreciate the 2% addition to the compensation pool.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, we did a compensation study a few years ago.
We did in 2023.
Still continue to come up short on getting our faculty and staff to even 80% of the median, which has been a goal that you've stated in the past. Median of our benchmarks, 80% of that. You know, the board is looking today at hitting the median of our benchmarks as a fair standard to use in compensation. And I agree with that. I mean, I think we are striving to be something in looking at aspirant schools, but we're also, you know, not at the same level as some others. I think that is a great standard that we should be hitting the median for faculty and staff compensation. 2%. I appreciate the president's commitment to this. I mean, it is a major change from what we had before, but there's 4 or 5 goals in the strategic plan that talk about compensation and faculty workload. I feel like we as an institution have to set a strategic direction. What we did set a strategic direction. We need to see a little more attention paid to that as we continue to focus on student success. And that's not just me to you, it's just you.
No, that's fine. I can only talk to faculty because I do faculty one. I will say at that point that we are over 80%. So I'm going to tell you at this point, the last compensation model was put in 22-23. As we went to that compensation model, there were really 3 things we were trying to take care of as we looked out into the future. We wanted to get everybody over 80% of the median, or a compa ratio, as they call it. That's what it is. And then what we also wanted to do was to first get everybody over 80%, to take care of inversions. So if you've been here 15 years and somebody's been hired in year 4 and they're making more money than you, we have to move you up. So that's what we had to do. And third is to have some dollars to be able to, if you're really close and really bad compression, we could move you a little. So those were the 3 things we tried to do. And we have gone back and ran the data using what would be 22 data, 22, 23 data. And right now, all assistant professionals that are being hired here are being hired at a compa ratio of 100% or more. That's the average. All associates are at 93 to 95, and all professors are 90 to 93. So we are over the 80%. I ran yesterday to see how many were not over the 80%. We have 4 individuals, 3 that I can deter, I know why, and it makes sense. 1, I don't know how it slipped through the cracks. And I already gave it back to my comp person to take a look at so that we could adjust that person, because we missed that. I am more than happy to say that at that point. But we have done, I think, a yeoman's job at this point, moving compensation in a time period where higher education has seen basically a decline in compensation at an astronomical rate compared to all other kinds of institutions, all other kinds of industry. And I think with this 2%, it will be the 4th year in a row for this, and that will only help us get there. Now, I think as we move forward, I guess I should say, I also looked at all the Kentucky schools and compared us to all the Kentucky schools, and looking at what professors make, associate and assistant professors and instructors. And I did NKU, EKU, Murray State, Moorhead, I think was it. And what you see is that we're number 2. We're behind NKU, which I would have expected because they're a different Carnegie and they're a different kind of institution. So that's where we are. I think we've made strides, huge strides in a short period of time. Do I think it's enough? I mean, I've said it in faculty senate, I don't. I mean, I think we have to stone, but I think when you look at a 2% compensation pool that's continued to go while we got to a zero-based budget is pretty amazing. I mean, I think that at this point, I'm comfortable where we are, but now it's time to think about the future. I agree.
And Shane, I've got somewhat like statistics for the staff because I deals with the faculty and I deal with the staff. So again, as Bud said, this is back a couple of years when we did our last study. But of the data set, which is a little over 1,000 staff, full-time staff, 40% of our staff are over 100%. 53% of our staff are at 80 to 100%. And then there's about 6% of our staff that are below the 80%. And those are primarily, which I would have to dig into a little bit, but those are primarily within grant funded positions or within athletics. Now, I know athletics is, I know Todd's around here someplace. Changing it up all the time. And so I would say those are probably, they're of course not our coaches, but maybe your assistant coaches or your managers or positions like that. But I'm like Bud, you know, statistics are what they are. Do I think we can do more? We'll do with what we can. I would love to be able to put a huge pot of money out there for our faculty and staff. It's just that we're just limited within our confines of our budget.
So just to clarify that, when you're saying that we're at 100% or 80%, you're talking about
Median.
Yes, just for clarification. I just think it's important for the board to recognize, I mean, as perhaps a strategic priority, that the compensation of the people who have worked on this, and not saying that we're not making progress, because I do believe we are making progress, but it's certainly something that we have to continue to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think so too. And I do want to point out on the staff side, because I think that it doesn't go unnoticed on my part, but I think something people have to keep in mind is we get a lot of paid time off on this campus, thanks to the president, thanks to others. But if you were to look at all the time off we get in the summer days or fall break, spring break, I mean, and all the vacation we get, if you put that all together, you're looking at only really working 9 to 10 months a year. So if you take the salary and extrapolate it out, it's much different than just looking. So I just bring that to your attention because sometimes it goes a bit unnoticed, and that and I certainly think it's a huge benefit for folks. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that.
I think we have we do very well in total compensation. The president been committed to putting money into the healthcare plan. Compared to other institutions, we're doing well, but we have far too many people on this campus who make $40,000 a year and below, and in this community, that is a struggle to live. So.
And so we put out a total compensation letter to each faculty and staff about 2 years ago. We're going to issue that again in September once all the faculty is back. So that's actually going to lay out all your total compensation and then how it compares to 2 years ago. So.
But these college fees,
Yes.
every institution does.
Yeah, well, and it's much easier.
It's kind of like a hidden thing, I think.
Yeah.
Parent, you don't always see.
Well,
When you're shopping.
I had that conversation with Rush this morning. We were talking about, was it a positive? What are the positives? And then I told him, we've rolled it out, bills have been sent, things have been, and nobody's come back to ask me any questions or any of those kinds of things. They just, people went, oh, you know, and as my favorite are the students, and I asked some students about it, and they said, are they on there? So I don't even know if they look at a bill or if they are, they're not even noticing it. So, I mean, what it does though, is give us an opportunity to make everything better. We talk about quality all the time, and you know, I listen to Sam, and we talk about quality when we're together, and this is an opportunity to change things out. It's an opportunity to get new things and new ideas and test new ideas, and I think that's very important as we move forward as an institution.
One of the things I was going to say on the college fees, which I agree with college fees, I think is more opportunity. Like you said, Provost Fisher for quality. But one of the things I said last year at the Board of Regents retreat, I guess in early August, was that like, I feel that there's sort of been a decrease, and I think a lot of it has been somewhat taken care of. I feel like there's been a little bit of decrease in the resources available to students in some units on campus. So like I know in Gordon Ford College of Business, some of like the tutoring programs have sort of taken a little bit of a decrease. I know in some other places on campus, some of the student workers have taken a little bit of decrease. So do you think that with implementation of these fees that like I think it's great that we're going to be putting it forced to, you know, doing new ideas, new innovations that can continue to push our campus forward. But do you think, you know, any of that fee will kind of go back to make sure some of the things had a, you know, in names of, I mean, some things we have to get rid of to even out the budget, but do you think any of those things can kind of be reviewed to sort of make sure that the student needs and these academic units are still being supplemented?
So I guess I would say yes, because I've had conversations, I think, with every dean in this room about what you would use those fees for and where you would go. And I'll go back to, in case of Evelyn, we had a conversation yesterday that right now, because of growth occurring in Gordon Ford, and I only expect there to be more growth once this opens and people get a chance to see this, their advisors are now advising 400, and really what you should be advising is 300. And we talked about you may be using this fee to get another advisor in so that we can get students in and get them in a timely fashion. Dave and I have talked about using it for student workers and all kinds of things. So it's exactly what we've talked about, right? It's a way that we saw to take and be able to create opportunities for students and to make sure that within classrooms they had what they needed to get a quality education.
Mind if I speak on that?
Oh, please.
In the college level, there's a lot of direct impact, especially within our college. Some of our units haven't been afforded fees before. So a lot of those efforts like mock trial or the prison class and all those things have been funded through either through just finding money from year to year or just we were just seeing what would happen. But now with the college fees, they have a sustainable way to be able to do those things. So we're able to provide the legal services clinic that we just saw. We're able to provide mock trial. We're able to provide more tutoring now and putting the tutoring center in there. Also Image West, which is our was a for-profit that now is a non-profit because of college fees. So it's able to be sustained that way. So our number one question is always, how do you go back? So those new initiatives are able to support things that weren't consistent before, making them consistent and also finding some new things. So yeah, they have made a tremendous impact on going right.
Just one last comment, this goes in a different direction, but tension that we have in the ramp model between the revenue generating units and the central units, and that participation fee, since this is going directly to the colleges, we've seen some pushback in some central areas that they're understaffed. I'm assuming as we look at the ramp model over the next year or so, that study, we can look at if that participation fee is enough, and that since the colleges are now being funded in other ways.
Yes, so our plans are to take a hard look at the model this coming summer with the deans and vice presidents, probably, and looking at all those things, participation fee, the indirect cost pools, how the tuition, how the state appropriation is allocated, because all those decisions were made probably back in 2018. So is it time to look at things differently and compare ourselves to how other institutions do? And finally, the final thing you'll be approving within this budget, I like to refer to as a couple of differential tuition rates. So one is the doctorate in psychology, resident rate of $690 per hour. And what the provost and deans have told me is that's kind of mid-pack when you compare ourselves to other peer institutions that offer that program. The RN to BSN at $394 per hour. That was a program that we eliminated several years ago, now bringing it back because of the high demand for that program. And that's actually, I think you said is relatively low compared to other programs.
It is.
So on to revenue highlights. So you'll see that we are a highly enrollment dependent institution. Tuition fees making up 46% of our revenue budget. The next highest would be state appropriation at 22%. So if you were in higher education, probably 15, 20 years ago here in the state of Kentucky, you would have seen that would have been flip-flop. The state appropriation would have been the largest pie, and then followed by tuition and fees. But as the state has disinvested, and it started to make some reinvestments back into higher education, but we're going to push for that in the upcoming budget session. So just a little on tuition and fees and how we go about making up the tuition revenue budget. So total head count on campus, so that's everybody on campus as far as students taking courses, is 16,376. That's not what you budget on. If you budget on head count, that's going to get you into trouble really quick. So we budget at full-time equivalents. So our full-time equivalents 13,445. So our first year class, we're projecting relatively flat. John Mark always reminds me, it's not actually flat, Susan. We brought in a class of 2788 in last fall, so relatively flat, but not about 12 additional students. And that's great for budgeting. We want to be conservative, but President Caboni has let us all know it's fine to budget conservative, but that's not our goal. So we're hoping to bring in a freshman class higher than that. And then again, on the tuition and fee rates, we'll use the new tuition rates that are approved for the fall of 25, the addition of the college fees that we've talked about in length. And the great news for this budget is all of that together, we're seeing an increase in net tuition revenue of $5.3 million. And all of that is hard work on the enrollment and the financial aid team with the result of improvement in our scholarship model. So our state appropriation, this, as a reminder, this is the second year of our biennial budget. So we can look this time. Last year, what our state appropriation would be pending no mid-year budget reduction from the state. So our base appropriation is flat from 25. The good news is we were anticipating a significant decline in performance funding, and we were notified that it was really only a marginal decrease of around 200,000. Gatton Academy on campus will receive an increase of about 300,000 in their base funding. Grants and contracts. So I know there's a lot of conversation going on at the federal level around the bills around the budget, and which may impact our bill, Pell, but we just don't know that as of today. And when we built our budget, we were notified that we were seeing significant increases in the Pell and the CAP grants. And from a budget perspective, you see this on the revenue side, and you'll see a like increase on the expense side. So should something change at the federal level, we will make the necessary adjustments. And another item to note, extramurally funded research is budgeted flat this year because of all the things going on at the federal. Other revenue, I think the largest increase to note there is transfers in from the foundation, and that's directly associated with the fundraising that's going on for the portion of the college business that we had to bond out, and the field house. So that's about additional 2.9 million. Auxiliary and sales and service. So one would imagine most of your auxiliaries are directly associated with your enrollment, your housing and dining. And if you're budgeting your enrollment flat, your auxiliary revenue would also come in at a budget of flat. So, and then sales and services is primarily athletic driven revenue, and that's declining by about 1 million, and that's directly associated with one fewer football game guarantee. So this year we had Alabama and Boston College. Next year we'll just have the one, which is LSU. And on the expenditure side, so as we on the revenue side are enrollment dependent, on the expenditure side we are pretty labor intensive, and we're no different than any other college campus in the industry. So about 50% of our budget is made up of salaries and benefits. And so you'll see that the other, we've got a 123 million in student financial aid, and then on down the categories there. I have to take another chance to point out that our budget realignment strategy is now down to 0. So great news for our campus. So personnel, again, included in the personnel budget is the 2% compensation pool. Again, as recommended by the BEC and accepted by executive leadership, and just that one caveat about making sure that we meet our full overall revenue goals. And most of the other changes in the personnel categories are directly related to those 2-year budget realignment strategies. Financial aid, I won't go into, we talked about the issues going around with Pell and CAP. You'll see the $5.3 million reduction in our institutional aid, which improved our net tuition revenue. And our operating expenses, I think everybody on campus knows that we have worked hard to reduce basically all of our discretionary expense items. The only 2 items that you see an increase in there would be debt service, which is basically associated with the debt service on the Gordon Ford College of Business and the field house, and then a modest increase in our utility budget. So next steps. So we are asking the board to approve the budget today. If you do approve it, the next step would be that the tuition rate, the full budget, does not go to the CPE, just the tuition rate. I don't expect any problems with that. It's within the CPE guidelines. And then the final step would be for all of the data that resides in our budget software to move into the university's general ledger. And so before I take any questions, I just would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to thank all the people over here that I would not be successful if it wasn't for Ronaldo and Brian within the budget office, and then all the work that we do with the deans and vice presidents, and with Bud and I work very closely together, and the president. So just a huge thank you to those.
I would echo your sentiments there. Thanks to everyone. Questions or comments for Susan?
What was the reasoning behind raising the tuition for in-state residents and non-out-of-state residents?
So that's a great question, Sam. And basically that most of our out-of-state students come with the border state scholarship. And the border state scholarship reduces the out-of-state to the resident rate. So if we were to increase the non-resident rate, it would just be offset by a like increase in scholarship. Does that make sense? I mean, it may not, make perfect sense, but that's the reason we do it.
Okay.
And then there's I've heard some questions around international students, and it's the same concept. We have a tip type arrangement with our international students that it would just increase the scholarship budget. And then also, as I know Bud knows, that we're just not recruiting a lot of international students right now.
Any other questions or comments? President Bonner, have anything?
Well, after 8 years of hard work and a lot of belt tightening by our faculty, our staff, a lot of administrative work by leadership across campus, the most important thing that comes out of this is that we have not just a structurally balanced budget, that we are no longer using carry forward, which is a terrible budget process. This is the first time in 20 years this university has had that kind of budget. And it may not be sexy. It may not get headlines in the newspaper, but what I'm going to tell you is some of the most important work that's happened at this university in the past generation. So for everyone who has done that work, I'm going to say thank you. And it's not just administrators, it's faculty, it's staff, it's department heads, it's every person that makes a decision not to spend money when they could make the decision to spend money. And I appreciate the institution's commitment to being fiscally sound, fiscally conservative, being disciplined, and we're going to continue that work.
Thank you. Everybody again needs to be commended on that. Further questions, comments?
So basically, like, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out this like in-state versus out-of-state thing. I'm sorry for not catching this really till recently. But so if we were to raise the out-of-state and international tuition costs, there would be just no way to do that because of the scholarship we have set up.
Well, we can change our scholarship model.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that the scholarship model is structured for any student who comes in with a 3.0 GPA, they qualify for some merit award. The tuition structures are set so that if a student receives a merit award, they can receive a discount down to the in-state tuition rate for regardless of residency, but in those border states, in-state tuition. So if you raise those tuition, those bordering state rates or the tuition incentive program rates, it really doesn't increase revenue at all. It just increases the expense side since they're already going to be going to the in-state rate.
And is the border state rate, is that through Kentucky law that we have to abide by that?
The border state rate is an institutional scholarship that we received clearance from the council of the city.
And I will say that one other thing on the tuition, Sam, is that the CPE, they focus primarily on resident tuition. They give clear guidance. They set no parameters on non-resident or international, graduate, or doctoral. That they allow the institutions full flexibility.
Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the fiscal 2025-26 operating budget. Regent West. Second by Regent Dennison. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So noted. Mr. Chair, that concludes finance, budget, and audit.
Very good. The next item is the executive committee. As chairman of the executive committee, that falls to me. As members of the Board of Regents, each of us stands in a fiduciary relationship with Western Kentucky University. As you know, that means a position of trust. That relationship imposes on each of us the duty to always act in the best interest of the university. Our bylaws provide that the executive committee shall make a recommendation to the entire board regarding the president's contract. We know that education is a collaborative effort. There are many individuals who play significant roles in that effort. But our president's contribution, due in large part to his unmatched leadership abilities, cannot be overstated. We have negotiated a new proposed contract with the president. There's been give and take on both sides. You have before you the final draft of that proposed contract. At my direction, the board's attorney supplied you with that draft and supporting documentation indicating what other schools of like size, location, so forth will pay. And well in advance of today, in order that you would have plenty of opportunities to go through that and review it and provide any feedback. We believe that President Caboni has been and continues to be a tremendous leader for WKU. His dedication, commitment, and untiring efforts are evident in the success we have seen in student retention, graduation rates, fiscal responsibility. We commend him for his efforts and accomplishments. President Caboni is doing an exceptional job for our university. We want to continue this work with him. Therefore, considering our fiduciary responsibility, it is the unanimous opinion of the executive committee that the best interest of the university would be served by entering into this new contract with President Caboni. I'll entertain such a motion. Have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Would this be a good time for about a 5-minute break? Let's take 5 minutes.
Thank you.
The next item on the executive committee is executive item number 2. Ms. Anderson.
I'll take both items collectively to discuss if that's okay with Chair Milliken, and then you can vote on them individually if that suits.
Sure, sure.
These are both compliance related items stemming from the passage of House Bill 4 by the General Assembly in March of this year. First deadlines that we have under House Bill 4, which will become law later under June 30th. And both of those relate to board action. I am seeking the board's approval of a new policy for institutional viewpoint neutrality that has some anti-discrimination language based on an individual's political or social viewpoint and promotes intellectual diversity within the institution. As you may recall, last summer we did some work on university's free speech policy, and that webpage with the free speech policy and other information contained a brief statement of viewpoint neutrality. We've expanded on that statement in anti-discrimination language. The second item is a resolution for the board. The board is charged under House Bill 4 with ensuring compliance with the House bill. This resolution would delegate authority to the president and the general counsel's office to continue to reach and maintain compliance with the House bill.
Any discussion, comments? Then we'd entertain a motion to approve the viewpoint neutrality policy. Let's do it individually.
Please.
All in favor, say aye. I'm sorry, got ahead of myself. Need a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approval of the viewpoint neutrality policy, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item is approval of resolution on Kentucky House Bill number 4. Do I have a motion for that approval? Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments about that? If not, all approved, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item is an information item. President Pavone.
Chair Milliken, thanks so much. As you all well know, we've had some shifts in our housing availability over the past several weeks, and I want to provide the board both with an update on the short-term strategy and remediation work that we're going to be doing, but also a longer-term conversation that we're going to have along with the Student Life Foundation and potential national partners. We have two good friends of the university here, Brian and Julian, who work with B&D, a national consulting firm, who have a long relationship with the Student Life Foundation, but also have a long relationship with the university, who will be working with us going forward. And in a moment, I'll let them introduce themselves and talk about our work to come. But I want to first provide you with a bit of an update on where we are today. So as you know, on May 16th, the Student Life Foundation made several announcements, including the decision to bring down Hilltopper Hall, the temporary closures of Regents and Normal Hall based on an engineering assessment, and some shifts we had to make in our housing assignments for the fall semester. I want to thank everyone, the Student Life Foundation and our university, for their hard work to get us to a place where we were able to mediate and mitigate any challenges to our first year class. What we know is that folks, because they were shifted to upper class residence hall, non-communal and non-pod style living arrangements, we've seen no negative effect in the first year class to date. We've managed to mitigate costs for those who were concerned about potentially moving to our higher cost facility. And we managed to bring online what is now known as Central Hall, formerly the Hyatt Place, for a short-term intervention. And I appreciate that every student to a T that we've talked to is not just okay with, but has really been excited about the reinvestment we made in housing, the renovations that will happen over the summer, and the work to make sure that they're able to remain in their living learning communities and experience the support that HRL, the Student Life Foundation, provides for them. And so we really know that we're going to take those two facilities offline for this year and work to remediate them. But this is a larger challenge for our institution. So a large challenge requires an even bigger solution. And there have been long-standing conversations at this university about how it is we might transform residents' life. And as difficult and challenging as this current circumstances are, we're going to use this as an opportunity to accelerate the conversations and focus on the future of housing at this university and how we will transform the residential experience for our students during the next decade by thinking in a broader, more intentional, and more exciting way. So to continue planning for the continuity of operations and the future of housing, we've enlisted the help of Brailsford and Dunleavy, B&D for short. You're going to hear that a lot during the next several months and years. They're a planning and development advisory firm, and we have a long relationship with them. We've been actively engaged in conversations with them since we knew the possibility of bringing those two residence halls offline might happen. And so we're going to work together to explore what the new type of model might work best for WKU in terms of housing. We have a lot of work to do. We're going to do this in concert with the Student Life Foundation, who has been a trusted and long partner to the university. So you know we have aging housing units across campus, and this is going to require us thinking differently about how we do housing at WKU. It's one that's going to allow us to be more aggressive in the marketplace and more competitive with overlap institutions. Our students have different expectations than they had years ago. And our students coming in today are different than the ones pre-pandemic. And so we're going to pivot to a complete transformation in the next generation of student housing at the university. We're going to do it through a more modern management agreement and maintenance model that will work to allow us to elevate the standard of living for every student and to do the competitive work that's done today as an institution. And so I want to make clear to our students, to our alumni, to our faculty and staff, everyone internally, that going forward, we're going to have to think differently about our model. That doing this with only housing revenue is not going to be possible. So what we work through is the additional debt service that might be necessary for us to deliver this housing that current and future students expect. How do we eliminate the community housing that really is not much in demand by students who are prospective university undergraduates? And we're going to completely reconceptualize housing at WKU. And we're going to identify a national partner to join us in the Student Life Foundation to transform all housing on our campus to make sure that we remain competitive. Now, we believe the best way to do this is with that national partner and a public-private partnership. So B&D, Student Life Foundation, and the university are going to work together to consider what that model might look like and who these national partners might be to deliver at the scale that this is going to require. Now, these conversations will evolve over time. The relationship between the university and the Student Life Foundation will evolve over time. But the initial work is a three-phased plan. We'll walk you through some of that. But essentially, the first phase will be a renovation and remediation of Regents and Normal Hall to take place over the next year or two. The second phase will be a completed first-year village, replacing Hugh Poland and Douglas Keene halls. A third phase will be the replacement of McCormick, Rhodes Harlan, and Gilbert halls in the Valley with an upper class and sophomore village, building upon the work that happens in those living learning first year. So longer term, we will eliminate every community housing option on our campus so that students will select from hotel style, suite style, pod style housing, a complete reimagining of the relationship between students, their living community, and the academic life of our institution. But we're not just going to upgrade the housing. We're going to do it in such a way that ensures we maintain affordability and our access mission. We have to create options for our applicants and prospective students who are comparing us against institutions who've done this work. And so what may be a bit of a competitive disadvantage for us today will become a competitive advantage during the next decade. And I want to pause, and even through these challenging times, the Student Life Foundation, Brad Howard, the chair of that board, is here, has been a valuable partner for WKU for more than 2.5 decades. And I appreciate their support and investment in these discussions, ensuring that we can invest in our current facilities to navigate the near-term challenges while also supporting what is an ambitious long-term plan to transform WKU housing. A large challenge requires an even larger solution, and we're going to do that at this university. And so with that, we have partners who are working on getting their presentation online. I've vamped for about as long as I can vamp. Julian, are we close? If not, I will let Ryan do introductions and then we'll go.
I can go. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all, and thank you, President Kimoni, for that really great intro and setting the table in the context of kind of what we're talking about. And really about the long-term vision and transformational initiative to improve the residential experience at WKU, and how does that align with student success, enrollment goals, student affordability, access, the impact on the academic focus of the institution as well. As Dr. Kimoni mentioned, we've been working over the past several months really determining what is that the right long-term model and approach to implement this plan. We'll go through a little bit of kind of the initial ideas related to the phasing, which is going to evolve a little bit over time. But ultimately, we do believe there's options that do exist in the marketplace. We work nationally with very comparable institutions that are similar sized and dealing with similar challenges, but really we've been working through what is the right solution for WKU, a customized model and option, and make sure that we are, going the objectives were set forth by the president. So what a little more detail, kind of what are we looking at? What is this strategy? Again, long term, we know there's a lot of short-term initiatives and planning and projects that are going to be going on, remediating some of the challenges that have been discussed. But long term, as President Kimoni mentioned, we're looking at a phased approach to ultimately finding them to replace not only community style, but really the facilities, the residential facilities that are not meeting student needs for a variety of factors, right? They're not in demand. They're not what they're expecting. Students, there's major deferred maintenance. There's issues related to kind of just the experience that students have in those communities. So number one, the strategy is how do we come up with a plan to replace those facilities over time, and do it in a way that can be implemented without major disruptions to campus operations and those residents. Longer term as well, we're thinking about not just the buildings that are going to be replaced, but making sure that there is a plan to reinvest in all our existing assets that will remain, right? So determining the appropriate operations and maintenance, not only of existing assets, but future assets. So really kind of a detailed capital strategy that we make sure the money is there, plan is there to make sure that the facilities are kept up in a highly sustainable manner and again alignment with student demands. How do we pay for this is something we'll be exploring and have started to think about. Ultimately, the finance approach, our initial assumptions is a third-party financing type arrangement. There's a lot of different nuances to that conversation, but we'll be exploring that in further detail as we move forward. And then I'll just touch on kind of what is kind of the institution's responsibilities, roles, and our understanding, obviously, what are we going to maintain control over moving forward. I think number one really key is the overall student life student experience, student facing aspects, the residential environment is really key. It's a key part of the the academic mission of the institution and just the overall recruitment message that goes out to students with the live on requirement and kind of how does it tie into the future of campus. And obviously being a partner, the institution being a partner to this third party, approving the plan and making sure there is a clear understanding and alignment of interest there of what comes next and what are the projects and what makes sense again for the institution. So I'll just touch on real quickly, what are we looking for ultimately in a partner? Number one, I think it's his national expertise that they bring to the table where they implemented comparable type projects, on-campus housing facilities, designing, building, financing, operating, maintaining, comparable institutions, proven success in doing so. Really being a collaborative partner, again, as I mentioned, in determining the planning so that we are key stakeholders and what is ultimately approved and move forward. The commitment to student experience, again, as I touched on, student success, student affordability. Obviously, there's a key metrics that have to be accounted for, so we're going to be really laser focused on that when we move forward. And really this comprehensive approach. How do we think holistically, not only about the first phase project, one project, but what is the long-term vision and how do we implement that vision and moving, as quickly as possible, I'd say, without compromising quality or making uninformed decisions. So we really kind of want to take advantage of private sector expertise to do so. And I'll pass it over to Julian, who's going to go through a little more detail on kind of what does this initial phasing look like and how did we arrive on this?
Sure. Thank you, Ryan. It's a privilege to be here today to walk through this plan. I think before I dive into it, I'll just mention two important considerations. First, this is a conceptual plan. So we expect that over time, the sizing, the siting, and the program for each of these projects is likely to be triangulated around various factors which will evolve over time. One of those is the conditions that are currently ongoing in Regents from One Hilltopper. So that affects the amount of bed capacity that exists on campus today, and that affects how quickly we can move, where we can site new projects, and what kind of scale we need in order. It also is informed by student demand over time. So as the housing program and housing system evolves, attitudes of among the student body have the potential to change, as well as enrollment. So I'll just note that to say that as we determine this alongside the university and a potential partner, the sizing, siting, and phasing is subject to change, but at a high level, we wanted to discuss it in this way. And the real reason behind that is really grounded in the same principles that WKU has pursued with its housing system upgrades and changes over the past 10 years. So as President Gaboni mentioned, we've been a longtime partner of WKU, and then we knew for the institution to provide a world-class first-year experience that allows it to compete better, to really be shoulder to shoulder with your peers. And then we also knew that in order to drive retention, student success, having quality second-year options is highly important. So what this phasing plan begins with is the projects that the SLF is undertaking today. And that includes the demolition of Hilltopper Hall, the renovation and renewal of Regents and Normal, the scoping for which is currently ongoing. And the thought is, once this is completed, we will understand a little bit more about the scale of the site for this second phase, which is likely to be a very large investment in first-year housing in the first-year village. The halls that we are targeting here for replacement, these have been long-term targets for the university. They generally have the lowest satisfaction, the highest number of issues, and generally a program, a unit type that is somewhat out of date and is less desired by students overall. So the first two are Douglas P. in Poland. The goal of that, of course, is to deliver a compelling first-year experience. And then the sizing of it is really intended to not only replace the capacity in those buildings, but then also allow us to think very big about the valley in the third phase. So we know that Hilltopper is going to come down, and that McCormick, Gilbert, and Rhodes Harlan have been long-term targets for replacement at the university. So the goal then would be, once this new first-year project comes online, take a look at, on that site, or potentially even looking more broadly, what new options can be offered on division students. So that could be sized, up to 1,400 beds, depending again on demand and on the sites that are chosen. But I would note, of course, that demand and on programming as this evolves. We intend this to be a long-term process, and we previewed this with potential partners going forward. It's something that I think does think very big and asks a lot, but we do think there's work here that is financially sustainable and then provides this really high level of transformation. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about what our timeline looks like for this, going back just a little bit. So we have been working now with WKU, with the SLF, for the last few months to determine the parameters around how we're going to develop this collaborative partnership, the phasing plan that I just discussed. The immediate next step is to solicit a partner. So we are beginning in short order with a request for qualifications, request for proposals to be completed over the summer, and then likely in September. The goal there is really to drive competition among potential partners as we move down the line. So we start off with a really broad range of ideas and really ask folks, these are the priorities, this is the phasing plan phase. What are the best mechanisms in order to drive those outcomes? We then would move into a period where we're really determining the parameters around that first phase of investment. So in the fall, when a selected partner is chosen, we're thinking about doing an updated facilities assessment on campus, understanding student demand through a market study, and that's going to be necessary in order to support underwriting of that first project, as well as really understand what is the optimal program of this new first project in order to drive WKU's target outcomes, those experiences. Following that, we intend by the end of the year to have a pre-development agreement in place with the selected partner. And then in spring and winter of 2026, begin a design and pre-construction process that allows us to move forward very quickly on delivering this new product. The precise timing around that first project is going to depend in a great deal on what happens in Regents and Normal. And so we intend this partnership to be a collaborative process where the university is engaged, where the Student Life Foundation is engaged, so we can determine based on information that comes out in real time, the best path forward. And really the goal of that, right, respond quickly and think big. Think of this challenge in facilities as an opportunity.
Right. That will happy to answer any question.
I have a question about, so is the public-private partnership, is that model university housing?
It is pretty common, and we've worked on, I don't know how many dozens, nationally, but as I said before, there's a lot of different models out there, a lot of different arrangements and ways to do it. But yeah, a lot of institutions have executed these and are continuing to look at them. So there's really a proven track record of successful delivery and operation of P3 scale.
Have any other questions or comments? I know this is all very new to everybody, and this is going to be an evolving process, and everyone will have more questions as time goes on. But does anybody have any questions or comments at this juncture?
Yeah.
Sounds
I mean,
good.
it's like, I think you're taking lemons and making lemonade out of it. I mean, it sounds, this is the most optimistic thing I've heard about this situation, so. Yeah, I'm excited. It'd be nice to overhaul.
Thank you for this information item. The next item on the agenda is the nominating committee. Regent Brody has been appointed as chairman of that committee, and I'll turn that item over to him.
Thank you, Chair Milliken. First, I'd like to thank my fellow committee members, Regents Nichols and Helm, for their work. And the slate that we're presenting is for the 25-26 year. Board Chairperson, Regent Jan West. Board Vice Chairperson, Regent Doris Thomas. Board Secretary, Regent Dr. Melissa Dennison. And Board Treasurer, WKU Executive Vice President, Susan Howard.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That matter will be taken up at our next regular meeting. I draw your attention to the dates, future dates. Be sure you have those on your calendar. Do we have anything else that we need to discuss? Yes, President Bowman.
Chair Milliken did not have an opportunity after the approval and passage of my contract, but I did want to take a moment and just say thank you to the Board of Regents for your vote of confidence in me and the work that we continue to do. Casey and I are humbled and privileged to be able to fulfill these roles. We're thankful to be able to continue that work. I'm proud of the accomplishments we've had in a range of experiences, including our student success around retention and graduation rates, our fundraising success, our athletic success, the success in research. But there's a lot of work to do. And that's what I'm most excited about. Now, going forward, the press toward R2 designation, offering PhD programs, continuing to raise money to advance our physical plant and continue to upgrade and improve our facilities, and most importantly, to help our students have a world-class experience that's focused on the undergraduate education that we provide at WKU. And so with that, I thank the board for your continued confidence and look forward to another hard 4 years of good work and additional successes as we move forward. So thank you all.
Very good. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything, any comments they'd like to make, they'd like to say? If there's no further business come forward,